That's a wrap.
That's a wrap!
That's a wrap!
That's a wrap!
The poem project was essentially 5 different groups had 5 different poems.
We are assigned to learn about the poems, read the poems, understand the theme behind the poems,
and turn that theme into a script.
The best script out of each of those 5 groups would be chosen.
After we've made the scripts, we are not making a film for the script that we made.
And we got changed around, we changed our groups up.
We used that script and put it in another director's hands to make it into a film.
We revised the script, and then we went and filmed.
It was a really fun, collaborative experience to work with everyone and see their different ideas and how we can make this theme relevant for this time, especially during a pandemic.
The poem project is taking these poems and adapting their themes and their messages into quick little short 5-minute films.
I honestly think the main message in that poem is to not let life pass you by, and I feel like it's about time and how you spend it. In the poem, I just saw like kind of this hope, and I wanted to give that to someone else. Like in the story that I wrote, something that you never thought would happen did. Bullying is obviously a huge problem, and in this script we kind of see that in the beginning of this. We need to still remember that this is an issue for many kids, even online, especially online with like cyberbullying, and we're going back to school, so bullying in real life, and so many kids have to go through this.
The meaning of the poem was that people aren't really saying what they mean because they're too afraid to. The script was a lot about how people don't, display their true feelings until maybe it's too late and it's never to that person's face. I took a lot of inspiration from, teen movies that we've all grown up with. What I want people to learn from the script is that you have to tell people what you're thinking before they leave.
The main message of the poem was like, let your feelings guide you. Regardless on how it made you, how much you want to block them out, always let them guide you. My script, I don't know if it's overbearing or subtle, but it kind of deals with toxic masculinity in a way. With Johnny, he bullies Alex into doing terrible things. He is the force that is pushing the toxic masculinity onto young dudes in all of society.
I really enjoyed writing the script because it's like it's a big story to tell. And I liked the idea of people can change, and that's how I kind of inspired the script. I know non-binary people and their struggle being accepted in schools, so I wanted to write about how they need more support in our school system. I want to bring awareness to trans and non-binary rights because it's a topic that's been overlooked, and right now there's a lot of bills going around to stop trans people from playing sports teams, from using the bathroom, getting health insurance, or getting the care they need, so I wanted to bring light to those issues.
The poem I wrote the script for is called Be Nobody's Darling, and it's really about breaking away from societal norms and just being your own person. This poem is primarily directed towards women, and it's telling them to be strong, independent women. Bullying among women, it's really taken lightly, and it's kind of made fun of in a lot of movie tropes, but it's like a real serious thing. And I felt that that really inspired me to create a story.
I've never had to audition anyone before, I've only been auditioned. So that was definitely interesting to see it from a different perspective and to have to cast people yourself.
When we saw all the auditions, I think
we had the ideas filled in perfectly.
Body movement has a lot to do with the casting process, and I think we have to make really smart assumptions on how they would fit the role and do we think they would do good in the role.
Like whatever we didn't know about the character, they filled in themselves.
With it being virtual, like you can just tell a lot about someone by how their facial expressions are and how they use their voice.
First, I thought it was gonna be really scary. I was like, what if they don't listen to me? But the team that I'm working with is really awesome.
Rehearsals are a little tough over Zoom because you don't get that experience of being in person, because there's a certain presence about being in person.
It's just very hard to connect and flow with people.
I think also it's been more scattered for filming because some people are virtual and some people are in person. And I think it's been a lot to schedule.
We're all in different settings and you don't necessarily know what everybody else is going through.
Now it's a lot easier to escape certain things, especially with the Zoom settings, turning off your camera, turning off your mic, and it's really hard to have a very inclusive conversation with people that we normally had before COVID.
There are tons of things I learned this year about the filming process that I have never learned or even considered before.
I didn't know that there were so many camera angles. I really thought there were only a few main ones.
You have to follow the rule of thirds. You have to follow other things, and that's really interesting because it really shows that there's more to what you don't know.
I didn't know that there was a lot of lighting that really was needed in order for a scene to be presented really well.
And I think also directing is very helpful, not only if you want to go into directing, but also as an actor, so you can direct yourself. So I've kind of learned more about those skills.
I loved feeling like I was a part of this new world of acting that we've never explored before, which technically we haven't because we haven't had to.
The rehearsals were 90% on Zoom except for one rehearsal that actually happened in person.
For our in-person rehearsal right before our filming process, it was really great to meet all of them in person, especially because a lot of us didn't get the chance to.
My experience with the rehearsal process was very easy and went pretty smoothly. My film took place mostly online, so it didn't require major location changes.
The new regulations definitely did affect my acting, mostly because my character was on Zoom, and when you're on a camera, you really have to be out there with your expressions and your tone, because the body language that you would be able to see and interpret in person isn't there when you're on a camera because you can only see from the shoulders up.
I kind of had to know what I was doing before I showed up, as in if I were to rehearse in person, then you would do your blocking in person, but if you're doing it all at home, then you kind of have to listen to what your director says and know your blocking before you even get there.
It was a little bit difficult at first, playing in between the Zoom and in person and just all the timings and stuff, but after we figured it out, it went pretty well, and everybody knew what to do.
I was mainly worried about how much physical touch we were allowed to give, especially since we had to be cautious about spreading the virus.
I'd say that the COVID regulations made me feel more comfortable being in person with other people, and then at some points having to take our mask off. I just think in general it just made me feel more comfortable. I don't think it totally took away from the experience, we just had to work around it.
I just think we're gonna remember this for a while because it's very out of the ordinary, and I think that's very important to show that one is able to adapt to new circumstances.
Some of the obstacles we had to overcome were a lot of the continuity, because in one of our scenes there was a flag waving and it was not always in the same spot.
When we were filming outside, it was around the time where kids started coming out and there was a lot of noise in the background, so we needed to navigate a way to minimize the noise and still be able to hear our actors.
It was a lot of stress trying to get everything done in a timely manner, and there were times where we were worried we might not get certain things because of time.
Some points you may feel really rushed and you may get very aggravated, but you still need to have a positive mindset, because if you have that energy with you, your actors are going to continue to be happy and give their best performance.
I never would have dreamed that I'm doing what I'm doing today, because guess what? It didn't even exist when I was back in high school and college. SiriusXM did not exist as a technology. So it's not even something that I could have set my sights on. And I think for me, the lesson there is to just stay really open-minded. It's great to have a dream and of course, and put everything you have into it and follow that dream. It's very important to have that passion. But you at the same time can still stay open, because if you don't ever let go of that vision for yourself, you might not end up finding yourself in your dream job.
I was terrified to get up and speak in front of people. Terrified. Like, I would turn beet red. I would go almost into convulsions. I was that self-conscious and bad at public speaking and anything. And I literally started acting classes in New York the month after I graduated from NYU. And the month I started doing them, I realized how much I loved acting. And it really changed my life. If I had never become an actor, it changed my life anyway. Changed who I was, changed how I talked to people, how I held myself. It was really so valuable. And I tell people all the time, do acting classes, do performing arts classes. Whether you have any intention of being in that business or not, it doesn't matter. Character matters more than anything else, more than technique or anything. People will ultimately recognize you for your good character. May sound crazy because it's a crazy business and there's a lot of people with very low character. Character matters more than anything in this business.
I learned that in order to be a good director, you always have to be super prepared. And you have to know what you're gonna say if you have some suggestions.
Being stern with your actors and directing them doesn't mean being mean. You can be stern but also be kind and be supportive with your actors.
It can be scary to speak to people who may be older than you, but you kind of just have to get out of your head and just speak.
So far I've been using iMovie to edit my project.
When we began editing, I was kind of just, with all the clips that we had, it was overwhelming, but once you sit down and start, it gets really exciting and you have these great ideas of how you want to cut the clips or maybe a special effect that you need to use.
From what we've seen so far, it's kind of challenging, but since we're working on it together, it's a little easier.
With screenwriting and acting, you're gonna get a lot of rejection and criticism, and it's okay to be vulnerable, of course. But also, you have to remember that you're more than that, and that doesn't determine your worth as a director or actor or anything. It's just a note that you can improve on.
It really just gave me more of a responsibility, and I felt like that's important, not just in filming, but in life.
Going into high school, I wasn't expecting to make that many friends. I was expecting to lose a lot. But with this PAVE class, I was able to make lots of new friends.
I've been able to form really good connections with the people in this class because working on things you're passionate about really is just what bonds people in general.
I really think this class has improved my mental state, because I was really kind of sad with the whole COVID thing.
Writing and getting my creative juices out has been really helpful and just really fun. This class is just really a fun thing to do, and I think it's kept me kind of sane during this whole thing.
It's stressful at times because acting is a stressful thing and screenwriting is stressful, but I think that's one of the fun parts of it for me.
A lot of the other classes are very factual based, and I feel like now I have a lot more freedom to do things that I really like and I really enjoy.
I personally have never been in a program like this, so I think it's gonna be very interesting to see how this is all gonna go.
Poem Project.
Poem Project.
Poem Project.
Poem Project.
Poem Project.
Season 2020.
Season 2020
to 2021.